All right, all right. We are hitting week 2 of NFL free agency. The flurry of moves that have rushed through the NFL, those are kind of coming to a close. Now it's more the stragglers, those big names that are lingering around that, quite frankly, a lot of the guys that are still available likely won't end up on any squads until we get closer to training camp after teams kind of assess their needs in the draft. I think that's really what the Chiefs are looking like. So we'll talk some free agency as we get through the episode. Trey will be joining us again next week. Miss him on this show tonight for sure. Tonight for me recording to this morning for you guys listening on Friday morning. Before we get into the free agency side of things, there are a couple of pieces local here in Kansas City related to Arrowhead Stadium that are just worth talking about a little bit because it really has been a hot button item uh, here in Kansas City to discuss. On April 2nd, Kansas City voters will have the option to approve the 3/8 cent tax, with the proceeds of that tax going towards the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals to fund the brand new stadium downtown, the site that the Royals have picked in the Crossroads, as well as the renovations and the stadium plan that the Chiefs have produced for Arrowhead Stadium as well. Now, I've definitely let loose on some of my thoughts regarding what the Chiefs are going to do with Arrowhead and how, the people that are actually paying the bulk of this 3/8 cent tax aren't even going to experience the things the Chiefs are rolling out. I mean, these are field level suites. This is a tailgate experience that diehard fans likely won't partake in with the deep tailgating traditions that we have here in Kansas City. Most folks would rather camp out at 4 a.m., wait until the gates open up, unload the bus, unload the trailer, get the smoker going, plug in your own phone, and get the music going yourself. And so some of these things that have been launched in the plan, I can wholeheartedly disagree with the Chiefs' stance on that. Now, get the players new facilities, get the new locker room set up. Love that. But if all you're going to give me is a canopy on the third level, I'm going to need to see more. The thing is, people, I think, have a misunderstanding of what this vote entails. Now, the 3/8 cent tax that's already been allocated currently, those teams are reaping the benefit of that tax, and that's something that would be maintained, assuming we approve that on the bill. With the nature of sports being what they are today, cities, municipalities, they're not going to get to keep a team unless they chip in on the stadium moving forward. There's outliers out there. I think the Golden State Warriors financed their own stadium. Steve Ballmer is currently building the Clippers a new arena as well. But that's not something that is going to happen very often, if ever. So if the folks in Jackson County and in Kansas City, Missouri want to keep the Kansas City Chiefs here in town, you're going to need to go out there and vote yes, or else this is not going to appear on another ballot by the time the lease ends in 2031. And the Chiefs are going to start taking offers from the Kansas side to move down the road from where they're at on I-70. And the Royals will likely get suitors from out of state cities that don't have a baseball team. Cities like Nashville that have been looking for a team for a long time in the MLB space. Oakland just lost their team to Las Vegas for the exact same thing, for the fact that they would not get their Coliseum and build a brand new stadium for them. So this is something that, Kansas City sports fans need to take seriously, and it's just kind of the nature of the beast. I know no one wants to hear that, but that's just kind of the way it is. So I don't know. If I was in Jackson County, I know what I would be doing on that ballot. The Chiefs, they definitely have a lot more leverage in this scenario, having won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years, and you guys know the rest with what we've been able to experience. But, you know, the county is in the city is going to lose that revenue that comes in, those tourist dollars that come in from having the Chiefs and the Royals here in town otherwise. So, you know, there's been some executives and politicians and groups across the city that have been fighting this tax approval. And, one of the things that got brought up by Frank White, the Jackson County executive here in Kansas City, was, we wanted to see some kind of promise that you guys will be returning money back to the community. So the Royals came out with a CBA, not a collective bargaining agreement, but a community benefits agreement. Now, this is not attached to the vote that's going to be coming down on April 2nd, but both teams have agreed to pitch in $260 million over the next 40 years to support Jackson County in various initiatives. Now, this may seem rushed, right? The teams want you to come out, vote yes, approve the funding so that they can get their projects started before the ends of their respective leases at the end of the decade. But, a lot of folks want to see a little bit more from this plan. And, I wouldn't blame them for that at all. But at the end of the day, this is more than what they would even have to do, right? This is going out of their way to reallocate some of their revenues back to the city. So, it's in at least good faith that they're willing to put this on top of any other revenues that are generated from hosting multiple AFC championship games, from hosting World Series games the last 10 years, from hosting All-Star games. We had an All-Star game in 2012 here in Kansas City as well, and that's something when you get a brand new city, you're going to have rights to do that a lot sooner than some of these other MLB teams. So, I don't know. I would just something to think about as we enter April, and for you Jackson County voters out there, something to pay attention to as we kind of move into that big vote. Because really, we're not going to get an opportunity to do this again, at least in a timely fashion where Kansas or any other city without a team wouldn't have an opportunity to put the bid in on them. So let's keep our teams here. Let's keep that tradition alive. I know downtown baseball is not a lot of fun, but or not very popular amongst a lot of people, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's something that I'm certainly looking forward to. I'm looking forward to, this really the Chiefs plan. I'm looking forward to how that's going to evolve as well. I don't love it right now, but it's going to evolve after that first wave. They want to get something out to you, some renderings, and I'm just really excited to see what comes of it after that fact. We saw what's going on with the Kansas City Current, all the local vendors that have set up shop inside the first women's professional sports stadium in our country's history. And you hope the Chiefs maybe take that sort of turn where they can get more of a local feel to things. So who knows what's going to happen, but definitely something to keep your ears open to, and make sure you take in all information before you make your decision, before you make that choice to vote. All right, enough about that side of things. It's gonna be interesting. I know I'm eager to see what happens with that plan, but let's talk about some free agency. A lot of the big moves, like I mentioned earlier, have kind of run their course, but we did bring back a player that I was really excited to see back. Derek Nottie, defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is one of the best in terms of community outreach and what he does here in Kansas City with a lot of our pet shelters and his initiatives with just allowing people to have an easier way to to adopt dogs. And that's something that's near and dear to me, having adopted two of my own dogs, Chief and Lamar. But keeping a guy like that in the community is something that I'm really excited about, and having him as a, big time run stuffer on the field as well is going to be a lot of fun to have him for one more year to go for that three-peat. So Derek Nottie, excited to have you back in Kansas City. We did lose Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards, safety, wins the Super Bowl with us, ends up getting a contract to play in Buffalo. So wishing you the best out there. Mike Edwards, man, he really showed up throughout the season. It was pretty awesome seeing him step in and fill that role that Brian Cook was holding down until he hurt his ankle. And I was hoping there was maybe some path to keeping him and having that safety depth, but unfortunately, it doesn't work like that all the time. And Mike Edwards, appreciate your service, appreciate what you did for the Kansas City Chiefs this past year, but now you're the op. Now you're the opposition, and wishing you the best, but hoping we still come out on top. So Mike Edwards, love what you did there in Kansas City this past year. I'll move it into the big news, and something I think from just the angle that we were talking about going into free agency. NFL players right now have a unique opportunity, one that doesn't come around too often, to join up with an organization that has an opportunity to three-peat. There's a lot of history tied into a three-peat because it's never been done in NFL history. The ring for a three-peat would be something out of this world, especially since it's a part of a dynasty that would mean 4 Super Bowls. I just don't know why you would pass up that opportunity. And, with some of the moves that we've seen made, right? L'Jarius Sneed gets tagged. We re-signed Chris Jones. His cap hit is just $7 million this year. I think actually it's 8.2 something for this season. So we have a lot of flexibility. There are some big name wide receivers available. And then all of a sudden we record our show last Thursday, and I was so bummed about this that we couldn't get this live for you because it happened just maybe an hour and a half after we called the show. But basically we wrap our show, drop the episode on Friday morning. I'm, I got a newborn here at my house, so I'm getting up at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning to feed her, and I've just got notification after notification on my phone. And I go and look at it. Chiefs signed Hollywood Brown, 1 year, $11 million deal, $7 million guaranteed with incentives. That's the signing I've been looking for, man. That is the signing I've been looking for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bringing in a player that can make a difference in the offense, address a major need, fit our budget from a cap perspective, and still give us flexibility in the future. I mean, that really just hits every single base and is exactly what we needed. And there were some hints out there kind of leading into the day on, the Chiefs getting linked to Hollywood Brown, but we've also been linked to Tyler Boyd, to Odell Beckham Jr., and insert wide receiver name here. That's the guy who we've been linked to. But we got Hollywood Brown, a receiver who has caught 1,000 yards worth of passes before, 90 catches in that season in a run-first offense with Lamar Jackson as his quarterback. And no knock on Lamar, but that's just not their game, right? They're going to run the ball. They're feeding Mark Andrews for the most part. And he was still able to overcome in that offense and played pretty well for the Arizona Cardinals also, right? Had some injury problems here and there during his time in Arizona, so that's going to be something to monitor a little bit as we get into the season. But this is a guy that can make a serious impact. He's speedy. He's got great route running ability. His drop rate is way lower than what the Chiefs average was last year, being bottoms in the league. And essentially he's going to cost us what Marquez Valdez-Scantling would have cost us if he stayed on the roster this year. So bringing in a guy like Hollywood Brown, he's already bought in. I think that's the coolest part. Now that we have had a chance to see this signing come through, we look at the aftermath. We see what Andy Reid did to bring him in, right? Same technique as bringing Juju in. Send the Lombardi, think red, think Super Bowls. Hollywood Brown posts that up and he says, think Hollywood, baby, lights, camera, action. And we're already getting the action. Hollywood Brown made his way down to Texas, already working out with Pat Mahomes and his trainer. They're getting drills done. They're getting their chemistry going. I think that means trouble for the rest of the league in what this looks like. We got Rashee Rice, a rising star in his own right, almost 1,000-yard season as a rookie. Travis Kelce, who's shown that he still has life given what he was able to do in the postseason. If we weren't already locked into our game, Travis Kelce would have had his 9th consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season. Mind you, he missed the first game of last year. Isaiah Pacheco, dominant on the ground, consistently gets to the second level. And now we add Hollywood Brown, a guy who can open up some things in the middle for us and take the top off the defense if he needs to. I am so excited to see what we do, and this gives us room still to make a move if we wanted to. We've been linked to Odell Beckham Jr. still, which is insane. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent of signing OBJ given his age and, coming coming from the same angle as what I talked about with Hollywood earlier. He was in that Ravens offense and only produced about 600 yards of receiving yards this past season, but a guy who's been to a Super Bowl, won it before, his teammates always love him wherever he's at. He has a reputation as a diva outside of locker rooms, but I think inside the locker rooms, his teammates love him. And so adding a guy like that in the mix, just giving Mahomes another option if it's team friendly, I'm open to that possibility. 100%. Draft a guy who we can bring in and surround him with guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and Pat Mahomes. That's an incredible culture for a first-year rookie and something that I'm looking forward to for this NFL draft coming up. But there's still some needs that need to be addressed for the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't have a left tackle yet. We have Wanya Morris, and that's where the depth ends. So protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side is going to be something that's imperative moving towards the draft. As it stands right now, Tyron Smith gone, signed with the Jets. Donovan Smith still available, luckily. David Bakhtiari still available. Who knows if he's going to play this year, given what's going on with some of his injury history. And we've had a lot of other tackles already get pulled off the market. We saw Trent Brown go as well. Not that he's a left tackle or anything, but still marquee free agent names getting picked up. So that's one of those things that we're going to need to keep our eye on as we kind of move towards the draft. Because if the Chiefs don't bring a guy in, then you can imagine that first round pick might be spent on a tackle if the right wide receiver isn't there. So everything that's going to happen over the next couple weeks is really going to shape what the draft is going to look like at the end of the day. Now, there's still some marquee names in the running back room that we can go and grab to add depth. There's still a couple of edge rushers and defensive linemen that we can add to bring in. George Karlaftis, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, he's gonna get some more time for sure on the edge. But there's an old face out there, Emmanuel Ogbah. I'd be interested in the Chiefs bringing in. Mike Dan is still out there. Surprisingly, hasn't gotten a contract yet. That's somebody I'd like to see back in Kansas City, given he put up about 6.5 sacks. Not bad for a rotational guy, especially with Charles Omenihu nursing that ACL. And then from a linebacker perspective, there's some gaps that we can fill there too. Some depth pieces we can go after. Safety pieces we can go after. I know we kind of talked about Jamal Adams in different conversations. That's a guy who's he's really a Swiss Army knife, a guy you can fill in at linebacker and count on to blitz the quarterback. Now, I don't love his coverage skills by any means, you know what I mean? He gets beat over the top quite a bit. He doesn't have that step. He doesn't have that coverage skill that you want from a true safety. But the guy plays like a linebacker, and you can't forget he put up about 6.5 sacks for the Seattle Seahawks one year. So that's somebody that we can kind of look at and target as a solid fit for a Spagnuolo defense. So still a lot of nice names out there that the Chiefs can attach themselves to and move forward with as we get to the draft. But you know, hats off to Brett Veach, man. Just ending it on this note for the show, doing it nice and quick, just a quick touch base on this free agency. Hats off to Brett Veach. I was nervous about what they were going to be able to do from a cap perspective, not having Brant Tillis in the building. He's the one who gets all the credit, who has gotten all the credit in past years for the creativity that has come out and how we've been able to restructure and have this flexibility year in and year out. And Veach and the team just hit it out of the park with this Hollywood Brown signing. One of my favorite signings, unbiased, one of my favorite signings from the offseason so far, without a doubt. So really excited to see what happens here with Hollywood Brown as we get towards the season. And man, I'm just dying for September. Dying for that Thursday night football game when we can walk back into Arrowhead fresh off a tailgate, celebrating our second straight Super Bowl win. So until then, get some March Madness in, get your tournament in. For you KU fans, don't think it's going to happen this year, and that makes me pretty happy. So um, we'll see you guys next week. Trey will be back. Appreciate you.